Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today. So actually, we are having the last big session of the Leadership Academy, Global Leaders for Local Communities. Can you imagine it? So we actually started not even last year, we started in 2019. Yeah, when we had the selection and when you received the news that you are selected to the course. And then in March of the last year, you had your tickets and we're planning to go to Malta for the first online session, offline session, and then everything collapsed. Then we took the decision that in September 2020, we are going to meet online and to provide you some sessions, yeah, so you feel confident on the project management. Then by the end of the last year, we took the decision that everything will be online. And we are delivering every month sessions for you. And you are doing your wonderful projects already for several months. So this is a journey. This is kind of a journey. And this is different. Yeah, sometimes it's tough, sometimes it's very easy, sometimes you have fails, sometimes you have successes. We as well. And I want to share some thought with you. I hope it can make you reflect a little bit about this journey and the journey, different journeys of your life. And I really hope you will enjoy it. And you can even sing together. Okay, we hope that you enjoyed the song, and I'm wishing you a great day and feel that life is wonderful and meaningful. And I have some problems. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good, good, good. Because my screen is freeze now. I hope it takes some time to make my screen unfreeze. And I'm happy to give the floor to Elenia, YMCA Europe expert on advocacy and policy papers. And today we are going to speak about policy papers. So yours. And just for you to know that I still have troubles with my screen and it is freezed, so I cannot share the presentation right in the moment. Hopefully.
No worries at all. You guys are not missing anything, life-changing with the slide. So hello, everybody, and good morning. For those who weren't here last time, I'm Elena Ventroni, and I'm YMCA Europe advocacy and officer. And so I'm gonna try and use what I know to help you out for today's section, which is about policy papers. Policy papers are a little bit the life and blood of advocacy because sometimes it might be the only thing you encounter. So like if you want to know what an NGO thinks about a certain topic, you will Google it and then you end up on their webpage, and what you'll find will be mostly policy papers. We call them papers, but if you have a look at STEPIC, you will know that they take so many different names. They're called briefings, they're called policy positions, they're called policy units, they're called manifestos. There's so many different names, but in truth and reality, they simply sum up what an NGO thinks about something. That it's all. You might understand how important they are because as an NGO, you cannot possibly go out and do a campaign or any action where you want to talk about what you think if you haven't figured out for yourself what you think as an organization about a certain topic, obviously. So yeah, Olga, you can start sharing the slides. And we can see there. So today what we're gonna do, we're gonna have a little bit of a look at how do we make policy papers and how we use them. Going back to what I was saying, policy papers are important for you as an organization because they help you put down in words what you think about a certain topic. And once it's there, its function is multiple. It means that whomever in your NGO wrote the paper, it's not the whole organization. So the fact that they will be written down and available means that everyone can look them up, the public, but also your own members. On the other hand, you also have the incentive. If I have to write a policy paper and put down in stone my opinions about something, then I'm gonna have to do it in a certain way. So we can go to the first slide, Olga. So this is a bit of an overview of what we're gonna do today. So we'll see how a policy paper is shaped, and this is gonna help you, especially for an exercise we'll do later. Then we'll see who writes a policy paper, and that's very, very important. Who reads a policy paper, and then we'll go into the exercise. These titles are very vague, so we're gonna get into it straight away. Next slide, Olga, please. So a policy paper has a specific shape, whichever, you're gonna do it in different ways. You can do it, we can do a very long one or a very short one, but it's very important always that these elements are there. So generally, this is a very general shape. Of course, you can tweak it a little bit, but this is a very rational shape that helps people following your thoughts about something. Hi there. So first of all, you want to present what's the issue you want to talk about, right? So that's the part we call manifesto. You want to say, what's the problem? How does it impact young people? And why we as YMCA care? Each of these questions are very important. First of all, you need to explain exactly what's the problem. What does it mean? The problem you're considering is only what you're writing down. If it's not written there, it means it's outside the scope of your policy paper. So for example, you might be writing a paper and you say that you care about the main problem is what happens to young accompanied minors, refugees. This means that you're not talking about economic migrants. It means that you're not talking about asylum seekers necessarily, etc. So this is where you define the boundaries of the problem. How does it impact young people? Very important. You are a youth NGO. So although you can write a policy paper about things that do not only impact young people, your policy paper will be stronger if it will be in the area of your work, 100%. So you need to explain what effects the problem has. You will describe the problem, but the effects are a different thing. You might say the problem is that there is a lot of unemployed young people, but the effect it has on young people, it can be that a young person does not have enough money to sustain themselves. They might end up homeless because they can't pay for a rent. They might end up depressed because they see themselves as fulfilled in their lives. It might hinder their possibility of having a family and going on with their lives, etc., etc. So the effects are very important because it makes it real for people of why this problem is so important and you're talking about it. And then why we as YMCA care, super important. You need to explain how does this relate to your mission, your value, and your vision. So there's a lot of problems out there in the world, but they might be a little bit outside the scope of what your YMCA does. Sorry, use my English. And so you really need to explain why you feel entitled. It's a bad word, but here it really works. Why do you feel entitled to talk about this problem? So if you're talking about youth homelessness, you can absolutely say the YMCA has been working with this issue for a long time, and we really want to, explain everybody how bad the problem is and what we should do to solve it. It might be sports, it might be camping. Fortunately, the YMCA has a vast range of activities and focuses. So there's very little that is outside of YMCA focus, but you truly need to explain why as YMCA this is important. And then you go to recommendations. You have described a problem. You need to describe a solution, and the solution needs to be tied exactly to the elements of the problems that you said. So if you said that the problem is that young people are unemployed and the effect is that they get depressed, in the solution, you can't put, oh, but we'll put them back in college. That's not really related to your problem, is it? Because you're kind of avoiding your problem. The jobs are not there, and what you're proposing is not bringing the jobs back in. It's simply shifting the focus. So you have to really make sure that whatever you write in the problem is then mirrored in the solution. Who can solve the problem? We're going to talk about this later. Competence, competence, competence. This needs to be burned in your soul. You need to know who has the power to solve your problem. You cannot say this problem needs to be solved by society as a whole. This problem needs to be solved, ... No. You need to know who has the power to change this. And you need to ask directly to that actor to change it. At what level? That's quite important, because sometimes a problem can only be solved at a local level, at a national level, or at a European level, or all these levels are necessary. Or you might decide that for the scope of this paper, you want to only focus on a specific level of competency. And you need to think about what did you describe? So if you describe that certain effects of this problem and a certain level of this problem, this needs to be mirrored to at what level do you want the solutions to come, at a local, national, or European level. Olga, we can go to the fourth, actually. This brings us back to another important thing. Who writes a policy paper? And here I'd like to stop a second, because there's not that many of you here. And I'd like to know from you, do you know if your YMCA has any policy position written? Like, does your YMCA have you ever written any policy position in your YMCA? Not you yourself, but does your YMCA have any policy paper or position? Anyone can raise their hand if the answer is yes. No, Tulia, yes. Tulia, can I ask you, do you know who wrote that policy paper?
I'm not entirely sure. So
Mhm.
this is a little bit too of a specific question. I just know that we have like the policy kind of, I guess, statements or kind of, what was the other word? Kind of, I'm sorry, my English is not very good
Briefing
this morning.
position. Don't you
Yeah,
worry, Julia. They're called in different names. It's all the same.
Yeah, but it's on on the website of our local YMCA. So I'm pretty sure it was written by like the employees, maybe like in a group or something like that, but I'm not entirely sure.
All right. Okay. And that's perfectly fine, because honestly, there might be different mechanisms to write one, but not everybody might be aware of how. But from what you said, I understand it's at local level, right, Julia?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, of course, policy papers can be at any level, but why is it important who writes a policy paper? You might be a very prickly member of your YMCA, right? You find a policy paper one day on the website of your YMCA that says pretty strong things, let's say about, the importance of supporting LGBT youth, or the importance of supporting mental health awareness, but you don't know what this policy paper came from, where this policy paper came from, who wrote it, who wrote down those positions. And as a concerned member, you'd be like, well, when this paper comes out, people will think that I wrote it too, because I'm a member of this YMCA. So this policy paper belongs to me. So I need to know who wrote it and if they had the right to write it, right? So when you find a policy paper, when you create a policy paper in your YMCA, a very important thing is transparency. It needs to be published, of course. So if you write a policy paper, you never publish it in your website, and then you give it directly to a minister, that's not very transparent, is it? Because basically your members never had a chance to see what you told a senior representative of government, what your YMCA thinks about something. Then there is representation, right? So you are a member of that YMCA and you don't know who wrote that policy paper. But if you discover that that policy paper has been written by your board, for example, you directly voted for that board, democratically speaking. So that board has been given the power to represent the views of that YMCA externally. So that is one way in which you can find representation in who writes a policy paper. And in that case, you might find yourself satisfied, right? You say, okay, the policy paper is published, check, that's transparency. My board wrote it, because I wrote an email and they told me the board wrote it. Great, representation has been ensured. But then I might have another problem. This paper might say that young people think that ... In my board, there's no young people, let's say. So I might ask myself, well, where do they take this? How do they know young people think that? So maybe I contact my board and ask, how do you know that young people think this and that? And they might tell me, we wrote this policy paper, but we launched some focus groups to ensure that, that we heard from young people, what are their views on this topic. And we can send you the recordings of the minutes that we took for those focus groups. Great. Then we have youth-led as a characteristic that has been fulfilled. And then, though, we have the issue of legitimacy. It might be that YMCA never had a written rule about who can write what and who can represent externally. But maybe by chance, it might be written nowhere that your board has the right to represent your views externally. And in that case, there's a serious problem of legitimacy. Or, for example, the paper was not written by your board, it was written by your staff, and the board doesn't know. So you always have to ask yourself if that paper has a chance of representing the views of everybody. And mind you, you can't take everyone one by one, every member of your YMCA, and ask them to write a policy paper. That's not efficient. It's never going to happen. But you need to ensure that their views are represented one way or another, through democratic representation or through consultation. Also, you're a youth NGO. So in theory, it should be part of your legitimacy that, youth has to be consulted at some level in some way, shape, or form. One thing you can do, it's perfectly fine when you write a policy paper and you saw it on STEPIC, is to quote current research. And in that case, current research, if they, for example, used surveys or focus groups to consult young people, then it's true, it's not the young people of your YMCA that have been consulted, but there is the possibility of representing the views of young people. Because, for example, you're a small YMCA, you can't run research very strongly, and you decided to use that tool. That's perfectly fine. So these are like general rules. I call it the trill. See, transparency, representation, youth-led, and legitimacy, because we all like some nice shortening that can make us understand. So how do we do it in YMCA Europe? Well, we do it like this. We are actually one of those cases where there is no written rule in our constitution of how do we present our policy opinions. So we created it from scratch, trying to ensure the trill. So what did we do? In terms of, well, YMCA Europe is huge, as you can imagine. So efficiency was an important issue because, of course, with 32 plus 5 members, plus millions of young people across Europe, beneficiaries of our programs, we couldn't consult everybody. So we needed to streamline. So the first thing that happens, I didn't put it there at the very, very start, but actually I should have. We chose what to talk about on the basis of the strategy. I'm talking about the last cycle of strategy of YMCA Europe. We had 4 specific themes: peace and justice, unemployment, migration, and empowerment. So we knew what to write about because we said as YMCA, we wanted to work on those topics for 4 years. So we had to really talk about those, didn't we? And so starting on those, the advocacy officer, hello, it's me, unfortunately, only me. We reunited the YPG. I think we talked about it the other time, the youth policy group of YMCA Europe, where there was around 12, 13 members represented, a bit less than half of our members represented there, and it's young people. So we have a portion of legitimacy coming from representation of national YMCA and a portion coming from youth-led. So what did we do? Together with the YPG, the Brussels office, we basically wrote down, you remember those portion of questions of the manifesto and recommendation, right? We wrote down 4 questions under each section. So basically what we said is, we had, of course, the question, what is the problem? How does it affect young people? And then we went a little bit deeper under that in the manifesto. Why do we care as YMCA? And then, for example, we had the things specific to the topic, for example. For migration, we talked about what's the situation regarding inclusion and integration and intercultural learning. Or for example, for unemployment, we talked about what are the consequences on mental health specifically, because even back then we identified that as a strong topic for us. And so these questions were sent to the YPG themselves. So first we agree on the questions together, then the YPG members answered those questions with the help of their YMCAs. And so we had 11 to 12 contributions on the manifesto and recommendations that, amounted sometimes to 22 pages of, everything written down, or 48 even for unemployment. So the job of the advocacy officer there was to shorten everything and to put it into 6 to 8 pages, then to send it back to the YPG and ask them, does this represent your views fairly? They said, yes. We had an in-person meeting to discuss and go through the paper and see if it flew well for everybody. At the same time, the questions were sent also to the executive committee and to what we call a network of experts, the NOE. What does it mean? If we talked about peace and justice, for example, there's a lot of people in the YMCA who deal with the topic, especially the people who worked in the Leadership Academy, for example, or in the network of experts for unemployment. There's a lot of YMCAs that work specifically on youth unemployment, and they might want to say their their view on this, on migration, the same. There's YMCAs that work on that specifically, but not all of them. That means that we have to send those questions to other 3 to 4 actors per each topic, which is not loads. So we would have had a great input from experts without sacrificing efficiency. Then all of these contributions were, of course, packed in these 6 pages, which is acceptable for a policy position, not the shortest, but still acceptable. And then there was like a final draft, if you know what I mean. So then I sent it to the YPG and the executive committee so that they could look at it and see if it made sense. But also the executive committee had to make a legitimacy check. They really needed to check if whatever said in the YMCA could have been in the paper could be problematic for any of the YMCAs. And if the paper passed these checks, or if it did not, it was amended, of course. But once amended and once considered perfect, it would go to publication. This process actually took a while, but it was worth it in the sense that these were just the starting positions of the YMCA. On the basis of this, campaigns can be made and shorter conversations with decision makers can be had. It's all there. Any representative of the YMCA who's empowered to represent YMCA and say they have a meeting with a commissioner or a minister and they want to talk about migration, if they want to know what's their platform, where is the starting point, that paper can be used easily. So ideally, the extra step we would have loved to have would be to discuss the papers at a General Assembly. We kind of did that in 2018 in InterZ, but we did that in workshops, not in plenary. So technically speaking, it's not the best way to have everybody's input in that as a, ex post feedback, but, we want to really get better at that and create a space for that policy discussion in the YMCA Europe. Does any of you have any question or curiosity about this? Did you at any stage think, okay, I'm not really sure about this? You can say, like, you look at this and you'd be like, they say it's legitimate, but I don't think everybody's views can be represented in this way. That'd be perfectly fair. No opinions or thoughts about it? Good. It's a procedure. It's very sad and boring. Olga, you can go at the next one, I think. So, when you write it, you don't think about it that much, but you definitely should. You always should think about who reads your policy paper. You can presume that when you publish it, everybody will read it, but in reality, only people that will be concerned and will care about it will find it, seek it, and read it. So you really need to think about who are you talking to. And I'm saying that because while we were writing the policy paper, we had this problem a lot. I wanted to ask you a question. You can answer by raising your hand or taking the floor. If I say, I'm gonna say something to you that is the truth, but you have to tell me if I should put it in a policy paper, right? There was a system of quota that the EU designed for migration, but several countries, several member countries of the EU in the East, namely Hungary, Czech Republic, and Slovenia, opposed the quotas because they believed they did not have the obligation to include not even one migrant in their countries. Should have we written this in the paper, you think? Give me a sign, say yes or no.
Excuse me, can you explain it a bit?
Yeah.
I mean, should we talk about these countries that did that?
No, I'm just saying, do you think I should have written this phrase at all in a policy paper? Would that be appropriate?
I would think not. I mean, it's not our job to judge I mean, it's the European
Absolutely.
Union.
Absolutely. This is the truth. The EU presented a quota plan. This is a fact. And some countries voted against. Another fact. As a consequence, there was no plan at the EU level. And that has caused other countries to take the toll, namely Italy, Greece, Spain. If there was a quota system, then probably we wouldn't have seen the same numbers, the same tragedies. It can be, actually, you say it's obvious that you don't put it in the policy paper, but you might be at a crossroad, because actually in the solutions that we were suggesting to decision makers, we had to say, well, a quota system would work. Because it's true, a quota system where you manage to repartition people fairly among European countries is a thing that could work. Problem is that it has been done and it has failed. So what do? Do you write it in there? Do you explain the history behind it, or you don't? The answer that Nico said very well, there's no point writing it, because then you would alienate people from those countries that are not their own governments, so they might have much more complex opinion than what their countries have voted for. And on the other hand, it really doesn't help to point at responsibilities in a policy paper. The only thing you want to do in a policy paper is to describe the problem and how it affects people and what solution there is. If the solution is quotas, you still have to write it. It's not like because it was tried and people said no, that you should just delete it from the solution list. It should still be there. At the same time, you really need to think who's reading, because your goal is to bring as many people as you can on your side. That's it. As many people as you can on your side, and you need to be convincing. You're not going to convince people telling them it's your fault. I think all of you guys work very well with people and with people's psychologies. And you know that when you take a person front to front and you tell them it's your fault if we have this problem, that person might not want to be involved in the solution. What do you think? I'd say I see smiles there. I see you might have seen this in real life, I'm pretty sure. So who's reading your paper? You really need to think about this. Is this going to be relevant to your local decision maker? So are you a local YMCA who's saying there's not enough playgrounds in our neighborhood and our young people are getting bored and they're getting into more dangerous activities? Are you talking to national decision makers and you're talking about, for example, integration of young kids, migrants into school learning? Are you talking to fellow NGOs? Are you calling, for example, for a coalition of NGOs to do something? And then, of course, they'll be called upon, they'll be feeling called upon. Or are you talking simply to the general public? That's the case. If you remember our campaigning seminar, we talked about when you ask people to change attitude towards something, right? Especially if you're trying to change people's attitudes towards mental health, towards veganism, then you're really talking to everybody. But you have to presume that once you put it outside in the world, your paper will be read by everybody. So it can reach anyone at any stage. It can pop up in a Google search for no reason that you can predict. This means that you always have to be careful with your words and you have to stick to facts. And in the STEPIC, we talked about it. You either use focus groups, you either use available research, whichever. You are not saying, when you're saying we believe that as YMCA, that's perfectly fine, but then you're sticking to values and you don't need to explain those. You don't need to explain to people why you as a YMCA believe that every young person should have a chance. That's what you're all about. So it's, you don't have to prove, because science has proven that we need to give young people a chance. You don't necessarily need to say that, but you need to explain the link between what you believe as a YMCA and this specific issue, for example, the inclusion of migrants and refugees. And so, yeah, think about your targets. Olga, we can go to the next slides. And we are at the wonderful time of an exercise that maybe we can explain together, Olga.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Elenia. And actually, this is the time to practice, to practice and to understand how to structure policy paper in the best way possible, right, Elenia?
Yes, exactly.
I'm looking at the number of participants today. I can't say that I'm surprised because I received lots of apology letters at the last moment. Reasons are really various. But we are not so many. It means that we can actually choose the voice of the topics, that we are interested to work with, and see how it goes. So we can work in pairs, or actually you can work as one group. And we suggest you 4 topics. Actually, you suggested these 4 topics at the STEPEC platform as those which are interested to you. And they are education. Let me use it. Elenia, could you please type to the chat? Education, gender equality, youth political participation, and environment. I suggest that we are not going to technical voting. Could you please, each of you, just tell 1 or 2 topics? We will see your interests, and then we will see if you are going as one group or you are working in actually almost pairs. Nikas?
Yeah. So I would say about education and youth political participation. That's my choices.
Thank you. Ben?
I would go either for gender equality or the environment.
Thank you. Natalia?
Education or environment.
Thank you. Alba?
Education and gender equality.
Thank you. Tula?
Gender equality or environment.
So looks like we can work in 2 groups. I need, Elenia, I need some time to, to see the logic. Could you please explain the work that we are doing?
Let's explain what we're gonna do. In the meantime, Olga is gonna sort out the groups. So you're gonna write your own policy paper, very short. So we're gonna write a lot of things. So under this 4 topics, you're gonna try to answer to those questions that we had in slide number 3. So what is the problem? What are the effects of the problem? And how does it affect, what are the effects of this problem on young people? And why do we care as YMCA? 3 questions, right? Problem, how does it affect young people? What are the effects? And why do we care as a YMCA? Recommendation, what is the solution of the problem? And basically, who can solve it? And in this question, who can solve it, you need to tell me at what level. If you think national, local, European, or a combination of the 3, it's up to you. So say, as you can see, some of these topics are a bit more general. So in education, you're gonna need to tell me what's the issue, and you're gonna have to make choices. So you might have to narrow it down. Education is a huge topic, as you might know. Gender equality, the same. You can look at it in several areas of life. And so you have to a bit make decisions amongst each other on, what do you want to focus on. You will have around 30 minutes, Olga, right? 20?
I think less, because we are really not so many, like 20 minutes. Yeah,
20.
I suggest that we work with education, like Nikas, Natalia, Alba, and environment. Gwen, Tula. Are you fine with it? Yeah, good. I just put the Jamboard link there. So as always, you will find the questions, and you will find the topics there.
So you will have to choose a person in your group to present to us after these 20 minutes and explain to us, because of course, what I wanted to write down is bullet points, okay, to answer these questions. But then you need to explain to us a little bit what these bullet points mean. And you will have, I think, Olga, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. What's the
For the presentation, yeah, I think that, yeah, like
5 can
5.
be 3 to 5 minutes can be fine. You have to explain it to us. You have to sell it to us a little bit. And what I didn't say before, a policy paper, especially the first time you write it, is a bit of can be a presenting card of your organization. So we need to understand your logic. You have to walk us through things. This is the reason why we do things in these boxes. You have to walk us through your reasoning about why you're doing things. Do you reckon it's clear? Do you have any questions? No, all clear? Good. Then I'm
Alba, you are joining education. Okay, so let's go then. If you
eager to see your opinions. Hi, Matthew.
So let me put to the port. Welcome back. How do you feel? How was the experience?
A little bit more time would be nice.
Traumatizing.
Yeah.
Okay, Elenia, so.
Yes, so
we go would like presentations, yeah?
Have you guys elected anyone in your group to present?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to present with some help from my colleagues, but yeah, don't pay too much attention to the second part on the recommendations, because we were on the phase of mostly talking and couldn't phrase anything. So yeah, but in any case, so we decided to focus on the lack of professional orientation in schools in the area of education. So that is the problem. This impacts young people. How? Young people are not ready to make decisions for professions in the end of school year. So we have in all three of our countries in our groups, we have some very important exams in the end of school years, mostly at 18 years of life. So in this, you are you must like have some classes and basically determine the path of career that you're going to have. So we think that without any backing on that, and mostly in the part that you don't really know what you like by that point because of how the school system works in most countries. So it's mostly things of general knowledge, but there is no professional orientation in the area of actually discovering your talents and your where do you steer or anything. So, and also like another thing is that you are called to make some very important choices even before your 18 years, because there are some directions that you can go. For example, if you want to go to medical studies, you will have to pick a specific pack of classes, or if you want to do humanitarian studies, you will have to do something else. But thing is, in that early age, and mostly it's like 16 or 17 years old, you don't know what you want to end up with, because you don't know what do you see yourself as or whatever. So yeah, that's that. And we care about this problem as why, because we want people to be autonomous and be able to make their own choices that they're happy with, that they can see themselves and be proud of in the when they grow up. I mean, you know, you have to. We want people to be able to see the years that are behind them and be grateful of that and be happy and not be, you know, working just for the, you know, making the making money and be able to living, because surviving is not living or something. But yeah, what we recommend about that, we have thoughts on, and talked about some solutions. Some of them are like, to begin with, professional assistance for students inside the schools from early on. They need to be able to know what professions exist in the market, because, you know, there are so many professions that we don't even know about. For example, we know the basic ones, you know, like there is lawyers, there are engineers, there are doctors, but that's not the whole point. There are so many others that also have a lot of potential, even in careers, that especially young people, I mean, not even myself or maybe most of us here, maybe don't know that even exist. So that is something that needs to happen. People must know what their choices are. And also, yeah, I should have write things down.
You can call that orientation in one word.
Yeah, and also, yeah, another thing that we could do is organize some campaigns, because another cause of this of people not being able to make the right choices and or professional, or not be able to do the choices that they you know, end up enjoying actually, is that the popular opinion and basically their families that are in most countries pressuring their kids to follow a specific route. So we have like, summing up, that they don't have the correct backing either from school or from their homes, and the young people. And yeah, so basically the campaign, I return to that, is about making sure that people understand that no profession is less than the other. It's about what you want to do with your life. So it's not only about, you know, making good money or doing something that is prestigious, for example, a doctor in these days. And who can solve it? Basically, the Ministry of Education. So it's mostly on the national level, maybe even international if the European Union gets involved. And also by campaigning, we could touch the popular opinion, because it's a very important factor. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If any of my colleagues would like to add something.
You've done it.
Yeah, that was perfect. I would just add that Nikas mentioned about families. Some families are not really supporting the choice of their children. And from the very childhood, we often hear some shaming towards different professions. So if you don't study, you will end up janitor, cleaner, and so on and so on. So I think that shouldn't really exist in the in the family discourse.
So you identified several dimensions in the solutions on a national level. We can say the general public level, and debatably you can even look at the local, if you wish, because your campaign can be run at any level. Good. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. We could structure it
Yes.
better, I think, if we had more time. But
Absolutely. I gave you 20 minutes, and generally people get 20 weeks to write things like this. So don't worry. Any reaction from the rest of the group? Did you guys feel this topic much, even though it wasn't yours? And do you have thoughts? Like, did you feel like, yes? Or did you feel like, I don't know if I agree?
I just wanted to say, yeah, Glenn, go, please.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that I really agree, and it's a problem that I found myself in general, you know, that I reflect upon a lot. So yeah.
Nice, good.
I wanted to say that you can always, just if you didn't manage to write the recommendations so far, you can add it, yeah, so to the Jamboard. Yeah, and also I have like the feeling that definitely you do understand the problem, so you know what you are speaking about, and you know the stories, and you know this experience. I have the feeling that it's difficult to understand what kind of recommendations should come up. And
I'll be honest,
it looks like that this is quite problematic.
I was impressed because I think you looked at many levels and very well, and you had some answers. Of course, if you're writing a proper policy paper, maybe you go deeper. But I think one really good thing you guys did, you focused on one topic, one issue. And it's very, very difficult because we just gave you education. The amount of things that study under education is ungodly. And the temptation to put at least 2 or 3 is huge, but you guys chose one, and that was very wise, I think. And you focused on that and the solutions there. So that was very, very well done. If I may say, but that you couldn't do this in a short time, but when I talk about the effects on young people, and we talk about this in campaigning, you need to, as Olga said, you know the problem, you know it very well. You've seen it, you felt it. You need to dig deep and look at the short-term impact and long-term impact of the problem. So on the short term, the person might choose a wrong career. But what does that do to their lives? You mentioned the things in between your solutions and problem. You did mention them, but you might want to isolate those things, and those are very impactful. This is where you win the attention of people. You need to make the people who don't know it and feel it like you understand it. This is why we say that with a policy paper, we make people walk through step by step. You slow it down a little because you understand the problem, but you need to bring people rationally, step by step, to get it and to understand all the extent. You don't want them to miss anything because you want to convince them this is a really difficult problem, you know, a very strong issue. So well done. I think we can go to the environment group.
All right, I'm going to present. So to make the exercise easier, we focused on one very specific problem. So the problem we found is the lack of green open spaces for young people in a city. So the effect of this problem is that, first of all, young people have a lack of space to exercise safely outside. So for example, they could go running, but it's in the street, so they are at risk with the cars and stuff like that. There are also scientific evidence that nature has a very positive effect on mental health. So the lack of green spaces in turn will lead to a poorer mental health for young people. Also, nature, as you all know, helps a lot with air quality. It takes up the dioxide and releases oxygen. So the lack of green spaces leads to bad air quality, which in turn as well can lead to physical health issues like respiratory issues, asthma, and problems like that. Why do we care? Well, we care because we are YMCA. We care about the well-being of young people, the holistic well-being of young people, body, spirit, and mind. And the lack of green spaces has an impact on both their physical and their mental health. So it's very important that we tackle this problem. We came up with two parallel solutions. The first one would be to convert, we call them empty spaces, but for example, let's say we have a big parking lot. We should make it underground, and on top of it, we build a park. We make a park, we plant trees and plants and stuff like that. If there are big abandoned buildings, same, we destroy them down, and instead of them, we create a park or a green space. Another solution was to make the streets of the city more pedestrian and to really limit the access to cars. So since the space won't be needed for the cars, we can plant trees and green plants in the streets and making the streets a bit more green. So that should be tackled by the local council, obviously of the city, and so the level is local.
Wonderful. Talking about isolating one issue and going specific. Well done, guys. Absolutely. Do I see from the rest of the group? I see some applause from Natalia and thumbs up. You guys were convinced. Olga's convinced too. Hi, Ian. So this, you here chose a level from the very start, let's say, because you isolated a problem that can be isolated at a local level in multiple places. As a problem is fairly universal, because I'm sure there's like lack of green spaces in many local places in Europe and in the world. And then there was a description of the problem, how does it impact young people, why this is important for our YMCA, a couple of solutions on a practical level, and then the local council. If you wanted to, like, of course, in 20 minutes, this is pretty awesome. If you wanted to like get the diamond level of the policy papers in 20 minutes, one thing that I would say is that a challenge that you would encounter with something like this is that people, there's always those people that will be like, with what resources? So they're always there, especially at a local level. We don't have the money. What you're asking is expensive, yada, yada, yada. A creative solution, I think you nearly got there in the first solution you had, is to convert existing empty spaces, right? Because that's already a save in money. And you need to sell that because you can prevent, sometimes you need to also think about these things. When you write a policy paper, you need to prevent counter arguments sometimes. And in some policy papers, people actually write that down, like, to those who say that this is actually ABC, we counter DEF. That's something that is actually, it happens. So, but if you found that in 20 minutes, I would have told you to start applying to become advocacy officers, because it would have been pretty terrifying if you also thought about resources in those 20 minutes. And so very well done, guys. You, like, Leadership Academy never fails to impress me, but I feel like every year the level to which I'm impressed goes higher and higher. So that was a really, really good job. What we wanted to ask you now is to have a little bit of a thought, because you have presented to each other and you wrote your own thing, is if you can think about a couple of general do's and don'ts that can be useful when you write a policy paper, right? And I'm gonna need your help. So I'm not gonna tell you this as a frontal lesson, like I was an ancient 90-year-old professor, but we need to write this together. So can anyone give me a do or a don't when you write a policy paper, in your opinion? What should be avoided? What should definitely be there? Tulia.
I would say be kind of clear and concise. That's already been said, but I think that's really important. And maybe this is more of a question or a do or don't, but maybe don't mix too many kind of things in the same policy paper. So maybe there could be like, if it gets too out of hand, it loses the clear and concise element of it.
Yes, I don't know in your language how do you say that, but in Italian we say don't put too much meat on the fire. Okay, perfect. Great. These are two great do's and don'ts. Absolutely clear and concise. Don't make things too complicated. Anybody else wants to help us with this? When?
I'm not sure, but maybe when possible, support the arguments with scientific or academic research and data.
Amen, absolutely. And as we said, even in the campaigning, I think, but we reiterated on the STEPIC for advocacy too, you have many sources, but these need to be facts, not only opinions. You need to support your opinion with scientific arguments and valid information. It can be available research or focus groups, for example, anything that will be accepted by a statistician. And it's more than you would think, just in case you're worried about it. And there's a lot of research that is accessible out there. Anybody else who wants to help us? I'm sure there's plenty of don'ts you can think of. Any volunteers?
Yeah, I mean, what we said before about giving blame to someone, I mean, that shouldn't happen just because it doesn't help.
Don't point fingers, let's say. Yes, absolutely, Nikos. And you guys writing these policy papers were really good. You explained problems, and sometimes explaining problems also means where the source is. You don't need to censor it at all. But it's important that the way you express it helps. So instead of saying it's all the parents' fault that tell kids that some jobs are more important than others, you can definitely say it in a different way and avoid the finger pointing and say we need to make sure that everyone in society gives equal values and equal dignity to all jobs, starting from the family. You say that, you're not really pointing fingers at all. You're saying it might happen in the family that these jobs are shamed, but let's all make an effort collectively not to do that. So absolutely. Any other do's or don'ts that you can think of? See, that's a problem. You guys are such good policy writers that you're like, it's all in your mind already.
Lenya, what about being realistic in your recommendations? Because of course you can create, you know, some kind of miracle things, but
it's part of our feedback. Let's say the next slide that we would have seen, and I think all of you might understand that if you ask the European decision makers to have more green areas in your 500 people village, it might be not very appropriate because the EU has no power to increase green spaces in your tiny village. You need to know who's competent with what. As we said before, competence, competence, competence. At the same time, you cannot ask your local council to solve climate change. That would be a bit much. Even if your local council is awesome, they can't solve climate change. So you can't ask for things that are really out of bounds. Also, some things, something can be the solution to your problem, 100%, but it might not be possible with resources that decision makers have at this moment. Say you have a huge national debt. There's just no money, for example, to put on, let's say, IT education for young people. There's no money to buy computers in schools. In some countries that can happen. You need to think creatively there. Where can resources be found? You need to find other solution makers and you need to bring that solution there to the table. You can suggest public-private partnerships, you can suggest international funding sources. The importance is that you really look at feasibility of your solutions. If your solutions are impossible, no one will be able to do what you say should be done. So yes, it needs to be feasible. What about, I would ask to you, what about being too, how can I say this in a proper English? What about being too technical? Do you think that helps, thinking about what we talked about before? Like you start using the technical language, and that's great. But it might happen sometimes that you end up in a loop, let's say, right? So as we said, there's multiple readers to your paper. And so you need to be mindful of that. Nikos, did you want to say something? Because I saw you.
Yeah. So yeah, if you get too technical, then you actually narrow down your audience. So yeah, you lose a lot of people that don't really know the technical terms.
Absolutely, Nikos. This goes hand in hand with what you guys said before about being clear and concise. And too much technical language might alienate some people, some audience you would have had to your message. And at the same time, it's not really needed. If you're clear, if you remember, for those who were at the last session, if you can pass the grammar test, that's the best. You always should be able to pass the grammar test. Grammar should be able to read your policy paper and say, you're totally right. And not say, I don't know what I just read. That's something that you should really be mindful of. Unfortunately, it's true, the policy paper is a more technical paper than a campaign, let's say, but at the same time, it's still accessible to everybody once you publish it. So it's in your interest to make it correct, but not inaccessible to others. Yes. Anybody else has any thoughts? Something that I wanted to ask you, you said there wasn't enough time, but did you find it hard, or did it flow easily for you to write down problems and solutions?
Personally, thing is, we started talking, and it was very nice to be able to conversate in something that you're all interested in. So yeah, we were mostly talking and coming down with some stuff, but we didn't write it down. The difficult part was actually phrasing it in a way that's that can be understood by other people that have not heard our conversation. That was the most difficult part.
That's good to know. Yeah, it's always, I'm an advocacy officer, I'm an advocacy nerd. So yeah, it's always awesome to chat about shared problems, especially you as young people. That's the magic for me. For me, ideally, you should be the only ones talking about these topics. There shouldn't be a 70-year-old telling us what a young unemployed person feels, because they don't know. They might have known what it was like, a while ago, but unemployment back then and unemployment today is a completely different thing. Jobs available, causes, completely different. And this is why focus groups are so wonderful, such a wonderful tool to use to write your policy papers, because you will have this multiplied by 10 groups of young people that all know these problems. They know them personally, and it's a great moment of connection. I don't know if you felt that with other people, and you discover, especially doing it at an international level, that's what happened in the YPG. People get blown away when they understand the reality in other countries, sometimes because it's identical and they did not expect it, that the same situation would be the same in different countries. And sometimes because it's vastly different. And it's always enriching, I think, to learn more about what's it like to be young in another country in Europe. Did you feel at any stage like you did not have the tools to know what the problem was? Like, because here Nico said we really knew what this was all about. But did you ever tell yourself, especially at the moment of solutions, am I qualified, between brackets, to say this? Any idea here? All right. Asking you this because I've had that feedback.
Yeah. So yeah, especially for us. I mean, talking personally, education is very complex, and you know, especially with politics. I mean, here in Greece, we have educational systems changing all the time according to what government is on. So yeah, definitely, I don't feel qualified or anything to actually not to propose solutions, because that can, you know, everybody can do that. But yeah, saying things that actually might make an impact, I'm not sure about that. I have no idea if that's actually possible to do that. I'm just, you know, it's just a vision of mine. Not sure that has any potential to work.
That happens often, but if I may say, as a rule of thumb, especially when you are so good at identifying a problem that is so close to you, 99.9% of the times what you're saying is the solution, and probably your only gaps of information would be who can do what. But what to do, most probably I say that you have in front of you a lot already about what needs to be done. So thanks to you guys a lot, seriously, for this exercise. As I said, I'm not just saying it because saying it, but I'm blown away, especially because I've worked on policy papers with a lot of groups of young people across the years, and they didn't come this easy. So, you know, applause, seriously. So Olga, can we see the slide after the exercise one, if we forgot about anything to mention there? It will appear, I promise you guys. Right after this one, we did the do's and don'ts, and the one after this. Yes, you might have seen this, and it's always a team sport, which means if you have like a one-person job in your YMCA, and only one person wrote that policy paper, most likely that policy paper could have been written better. You need a lot of people to put their brains into it. It's not only because of legitimacy, it's also because you need different perspectives. And it's much faster when somebody else can tell you, we're going off topic, this is not the point, this is outside of our scope, etc., etc. So this is something I would always tell you to remember. Next one, Olga. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of your time. And I know it can be boring, but one thing I wanted to tell you is, you saw how nice it was to chat and create a policy paper amongst you guys. What I want to tell you is that legitimacy we talked about and the ease of writing, you can truly do it anywhere. If your YMCA doesn't have a practice of writing policy paper, you can be the ones championing doing that. It can be something very short, and it can be something very little and very, you know, circumscribed, like you did it like this. But as you can see, you can do it 100%. Like if you propose to yourself as the one forming your little advocacy group in your YMCA, it would be absolutely perfect. So if you'd like to do that or have more guidance about it, do shoot me an email anytime, absolutely. If you want to get onto the YPG and do it at a European level, even better, because we always need lots of brains there from everywhere across Europe. And so thank you so much.
Elenia, thank you. Big applause for your job. Thanks a lot. And you know that you can always drop email to Elenia and ask questions, and or if you want to be involved. And also on STEPIC, you can find not only the theory, but some examples of policy papers. So you can read, study them, analyze from the perspectives of the knowledge, because they are different, and of course you will see different perspectives, and your opinion would be interesting. So please reflect on them. How do you find them? Do you find them actually empowering? Do you find them efficient? If yes or no, why? Yeah, so please do this job. All right, so looks like we need a break, and we will not have a long break because we will not have a very long session afterwards. We are not a big crowd of people, so we can make a short informal session after. So I suggest that we take a 10 minutes break for our own needs, and also to grab some national food. If you haven't prepared any, it's fine. Be creative, but that would be nice if you could share what typically you eat in your country. So we'll have a short informal session after the break. Okay? So let's come back in 10 minutes.
Immediate.
You can always tell, show, describe
Yes.
how it smells, you know. Okay. So I know that Alba has some urgent things to do. She messaged, so Ian will probably appear soon. Okay, yeah. So this is actually some informal part to share interesting things about our cultures. Matthew, do you want to lead this part, to take the floor?
Yeah, can do. So yeah, just before we close, we thought we'll do some something a little bit more informal. And we're doing it obviously social distance because we're all online. Usually when we're meeting up in person, we would bring stuff with us, and then we'll share local drinks, local food, when obviously we're all meeting in person. But we'll do what we can with us obviously all being on Zoom. So I guess I will go first, giving some people time that are maybe still cooking or maybe still frantically looking at Google. But I've decided not to cook anything and just kind of bringing some stuff with a bit of explanation that we have often here in Scotland. So I think the first one is very obvious. It's a can of Iron Brew, which is very common, obviously, here in Scotland. And this is Iron Brew Extra because all the health people here in Scotland realize that although this is our national drink and is very tasty and stuff, and it is bright orange, it's also very unhealthy. So there was a big kind of petition to get the recipe changed and get it healthier. And all the Iron Brew loyalists were like, you can't change the Iron Brew recipe. And all the health new generation were like, yes, you can. We want to survive longer and we want to keep our teeth, so make it healthier. And so they came out with what's called Iron Brew Extra, which pretty much I prefer it because yes, it is healthier, but it tastes pretty much exactly the same as the normal Iron Brew. So that is Iron Brew. And this you guys will probably recognize. It is simply just a Mars bar. Just a local, well, I think it's fairly common, chocolate bar that you can buy here in Scotland. Ian, I think you guys will have this as well in Ireland. Others will have it, I'm sure, as well. But there's something that Scottish people do with this piece of chocolate that I think others will be quite surprised at. Does anybody want to take a guess what Scottish people do with a Mars bar, rather than just obviously unwrap it and eat it?
Melt it in a coffee, probably.
That would probably be a better choice than what we actually do with it. Any other ideas? Ian, I
Deep
thought
fry it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Tulia?
I've heard something about deep frying it. Is that correct?
Yeah, you are 100% correct. So,
Do you
yes,
deep fry it and then drink a can of Iron Brew Extra? Sort of, like,
maybe
yeah.
it balances each other out. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, so this was one of the first things I learned when I actually came to live in Scotland, is you can go to a local chippy shop, as it's called, where you get like local fish and chips and other stuff, and you can order one of these, and they put it in their wee little spatula thing, and they drop it in the deep fryer for a few minutes, and it comes out obviously like battered fish or anything deep fried, and it's a deep fried Mars bar. Now, I have never had one because I'm quite afraid of them. I think they're pretty unhealthy. But every person that I've spoken to that has had one of these says that it is absolutely amazing, a deep fried Mars bar. So if you come to Scotland, or when you come to Scotland next, make sure you get yourself a deep fried Mars bar if you're brave enough. Make sure you get yourself some Iron Brew. And if you can get the original full sugar, full original flavored one, recipe, all that, then you'll be doing really well. So yeah, those are my two things. No cooking, but two very Scottish things. Okay.
I've heard legends of that deep fried butter stick. Like, is that true, or is that a legend only?
Possibly. I'm going up to the Highlands after this, and I wouldn't be too surprised if I start seeing more things deep fried, because I think the guys in the Highlands are a little bit more adventurous than maybe us in cities.
I'm so heartbroken. I didn't manage to get a deep fried Mars bar. I need to go back to Scotland for that.
Yeah. But yeah, so those are the two things for us. Okay. Who wants to go next? Ian.
I'll go next. So now my first experience with anything international YMCA was a couple of years ago at the conference in Prague, and I was with two colleagues, and I have to be honest, we struggled to find anything authentically Irish that we could bring. It's all very Scottish. So we have battered Mars bars and Iron Brew from Scotland. We sort of take lots of stuff. But we do have like breads and cheeses and whiskey, but it's all very similar to other places. So there's nothing, it's hard to find something unique. And also, so what I brought was, I just had it downstairs, was Irish porridge oats. And I'll show you, I mean, you've seen oats before, but everything in Ireland food-wise looks that pale color, yellowy pale color. And we have to sort of dress it up with some vibrant colors from other places. And it's just weird, a little bit embarrassing, but everything, we had it on a table one time and it was all just yellow. And you had like all colors, countries, with lots of different colors. And yeah, in Ireland, everything you eat is sort of a yellowy color, dressed up with ingredients from other places. So like potatoes and oats and yeah. So that's it.
Brilliant. Thank you. I saw it looked quite healthy though. Did you have like strawberries or something on it?
Yeah, just a bit of color. We need a bit of color in our foods. That's it. A bit like our people as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ian. All right. So we've had Scotland and we have had Ireland. Who shall we go to next? Let's jump over to Greece.
Yeah, I
I didn't prepare anything. I've been running a bit this week with the third activity of my project and also exams.
Okay.
So yeah, I would like, I don't know, I mean, you know gyros, right? I mean, it's very common. It's basically flat bread that's wrapped around either pork or chicken, but it's in strips basically. And then you put anything else that you want. You can put some traditional tzatziki, which is basically yogurt with garlic and cucumber, and it's very tasty in any case. And also potatoes, tomatoes, anything that you like, and it's very tasty. But I couldn't get any. I mean, I would have to order, and yeah, I didn't manage
Yeah.
because also like on 5 o'clock I will have to go. Actually, 4 o'clock for you. But yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It's good. Yeah, I know exactly what you're describing there, because I was in Edinburgh, Scotland's capital city, and there was a food truck that had exactly that, and I made sure to get one a couple of weeks ago. And you're right, very tasty indeed. Brilliant, thank you, Nikos. Let's go to some facilitators. So, Olga.
Yeah, you know that I'm a Belarusian person, but now I'm living in Belgium. And that was so much disappointing for me to try potatoes here. I was buying different kind of potatoes in the shop, trying to boil it, to fry it. I must admit it's quite not tasty here. I would describe it in a stronger word, but I'm afraid to make it painful for some Belgian people who love their local potatoes. But this is not the food that I can eat here as a Belarusian person, unfortunately. But what I can do is, of course, to enjoy Belgian waffles. I haven't known anything about Belgian waffles before, so I googled. Like, the tradition is from the 15th century actually, and from city to city they have different traditions of waffles. So, for example, in Liège there should be round obligatory. In Belgium, they're more quadratic. They can be thick, thin. They can be served as a hot dish, or they can be served as a cold one. They are served for breakfast or some others. They can be more sweet or less sweet. So there are really plenty of things about waffles, and I'm sure the cooks know about them. But for me, it's just a very nice thing to enjoy with coffee, which is quite good in Brussels. This is really good advantage. So, but I'm really trying not to overmake it, because they contain lots of sugar. No, this is not the healthiest food in the world, but they're really good here. Yeah, so waffles from my side.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, ideal.
Olga, are you supporting Belgium tonight in the Euros? They're playing.
What do you mean? I didn't get it.
In the Euro football competition, Belgium are playing tonight.
Are they playing tonight? Because frankly speaking, I didn't realize that Euro is going on. But yesterday, when I was going to bed, I heard huge, like really loud shouts from the street. I didn't realize what's going on.
That's because your road is full of Italians.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I realized that these were people in sport bars watching soccer, and said, "Oh my God, I'm losing the party." Are Belgians playing today?
Yes, I only know because in our youth center tonight we're having Belgian waffles in support of Belgium in our Eurozone. You just reminded me.
Perfect. I will watch it tonight for sure. Thank you for telling.
Brilliant. Okay. Let's go to Gwen.
So me, I'm going to send you photos because I couldn't cook and I couldn't go to the shop. I am French, but I've been living in Malta for 2.5 years. So I'm sending you a photo right now. It's something that's very typical here. It's called a pastizzi. So you need to know that in Malta, they have what I call a very, very generous way of cooking. And by generous, I mean greasy and fat. So this, it's usually filled either with ricotta cheese or peas, or sometimes with chicken and mushroom. And some shops do them with Nutella, but then it's way too greasy. It's way too much. So it's approximately like big like that. It's quite fulfilling. Actually, if you eat 2 of them, you're quite filled for a few hours. Again, it's very greasy and it's very cheap. It costs like 40 cents. So it's very common here. You will find pastizzi shops in almost every street and you can just pop in and get them.
Brilliant. Thank you. I don't think I had any when I was in Malta last time. How did I miss
Then you need to come back.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely coming back to Malta. Malta's a place. Brilliant. Thank you, Gwen. Additional question for you, because you are originally from France. What is your favorite French food?
Oh, it's difficult. Any dish that involves cheese, basically. I love fondue, I love raclette. I have a type of cheese in my region, which is only found in my region. It's called cancoyote, and it's a liquid one. We heat potatoes, we heat the cheese, and when we pour it on the potatoes and the sausages, and it's like, it's a winter dish. It's very fulfilling. It's, again, not very healthy, but yeah.
No, perfect. Thank you. Ideal. Okay, let's jump over to who we not had, Natalia.
If I could share my screen for a moment. So this is Russian traditional food called dumplings, or in Russian it's called pelmeni. So it's just dough and meat inside. So you can enjoy it with sour cream or mayonnaise or ketchup, so whatever sauce you want. Really nice and really, rich. So another traditional food, it's called summer soup. As for the ingredients, what do we put there? It's cucumber, then boiled potatoes and boiled eggs, sausage. So as it's summer, we also put radish and some green stuff like dill or parsley. So, and there are 2 camps, actually. Those who like it with fermented bread drink, it's called kvass, something like beer, but not really beer. Yeah. So this is the first camp, and the second camp likes it with kefir, so it's a fermented milk drink. So as for me, actually, I'm in the first camp. I like it with fermented bread drink. I find it more flavor in it. That's it. So this is it for sharing my screen. So
okay.
I stop the demonstration, and I also have another typically Russian thing, which is buckwheat, grechka. Yes, so we boil buckwheat, and it's really popular here in Russia. So it's second place, I guess, after potatoes.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you, Natalia. I just Googled buckwheat as I didn't know too much about it. So Olga says that it's super healthy.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know about all the others, but I can testify kvass is amazing. It's actually
Yes.
insanely good.
When we get to meet up together at some point in the future, we need to make these meals, or at least somehow bring them. I don't know, but it will be great. Awesome. Thank you, Natalia. I noticed that, Elenia, you have food now. So how about you go next?
I do. So it's actually very lucky you can't smell it, because for most people this would be disconcerting. So I always have to say I'm Italian, but as an Italian, actually, I would always say that I'm Sardinian, because us Italians are all about our regional identities, and definitely when it's about food, I am 100% Sardinian. It's not really like, I wouldn't say that lasagna belongs to me as much as it belongs to you, but kinda, because Sardinia is a little bit different, a lot different. We're a bit nationalistic like that, let's say. So we even have our own language. So what I'm going to present to you has its own name, and it sounds a bit different than Italian. So what I'm eating is malloreddu con casu, as we say. So it doesn't look very appealing, because generally we have it with tomato sauce with sausages, which I didn't have today, also because I'm not feeling top notch. So I'm eating it the way kids would eat it, which is with grated cheese and butter. But since we are a shepherd region, the cheese is sheep, and it's this one here. As you can see, it's well loved. And it smells, because sheep cheese doesn't exactly smell like roses. So my hands now are gonna smell wonderful for a while, because I grated it. And so yeah, when our kids are sick, we give them pasta with sheep cheese grated, because we feel it's lighter. I don't know. I doubt it. So you can't see the pasta here, but it's called malloreddus here. You can't see it. But malloro in Sardinian means veal. And I don't know why we call this pasta like that, but this pasta has saffron in the mix with the wheat, because in Sardinia we do grow our own saffron, and there's a lot of that, and we always put it in the sauce. And the first time I lived with other people outside in continental Italy, as we call it, I was shocked to hear that they did not make their tomato sauce for pasta with saffron, because I thought that's what you do. You put saffron in your tomato sauce, and they were like, no, that's weird. So yeah, I discovered at the ripe age of 21 that not all Italians use saffron in their tomato sauce. Actually, only Sardinians do. And so yeah, this is very much a comfort food for me. This is what my mom would make when I wasn't feeling well. So today I'm a little bit under the weather. I know you can't tell, but yes. And so that's what I made. And yeah, Sardinia has a lot of cheeses and meat, but also fish, because I'm from Cagliari, the south. And so that's right on the coast. And I'll be there on the 15th, and I'm looking forward to a lot of fish and seeing my family that I haven't seen in a year. And so hopefully all goes well and I can reach them on the 15th.
Perfect.
And yeah, bon appetit. I'm actually eating, I'm hungry.
Yeah, go for it. Thank you, Elenia. That's brilliant. Yeah, sounds like good comfort food. Plus, similar to, well, for me anyway, similar to Malta, Sardinia is a place that I definitely want to go. I've not been before, but it looks beautiful. Okay, let's jump over to Finland, and then we can finish with Spain. Julia.
Yeah, so I'm actually currently at a summer camp at my local YMCA. So our summer camps are on an island that the YMCA owns. So I couldn't go to the shops, and the kind of selection was a little bit limited. So I grabbed something that's super, super common for Finnish people to eat, which is rye bread. So it's fairly simple bread made out of rye. And it's super common for people to eat, for breakfast with soups or at any day actually. And it's something that most Finnish people always complain about when they go to other countries where the bread is always just white and like soft, and they say it's not real bread and it doesn't fill us. We need our like nutritious rye bread. So it's something that I really enjoy. I put some butter on it, but I had like toasted it, so it's melted. But like just toasted rye bread with a little bit of butter is just chef's kiss. It's super, super just delicious, and something I miss when I like go abroad. And another thing that I kind of brought, it's not really a food, but it's like Finnish people are really big on xylitol, which is like good for your teeth. So we get taught in like school that you should like chew gum or like xylitol kind of like chewable kind of like, how do you know, pills or like pastilles after your meals, so that your teeth don't, you know, rot in your mouth. So that's also something we do after dinner, to eat like xylitol. So these are the two things that I brought. And about like Finnish cuisine more generally, it's like a mixture of some like Eastern, like Russian influences, but then also like Swedish kind of coastal influences. And the city where I live is on like the southwest coast with a lot of Swedish people and Swedish influence. So there's a lot of fish and stuff like that in kind of the traditional foods. But yeah, these were the two things.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you. And well done for getting stuff, obviously, and when you are working and everything else. And you said that Finnish people are looking for real bread. I think they will have complaints in Scotland as well, because a lot of our bread is just paper. So it's not very exciting stuff, unless you do go digging deeper. Based on what Ian said, it might be the same in Ireland. So might be a tinge yellow though. But yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Alba in Spain.
Okay, so I'm gonna say something that I would have eaten at this time if I was going to work. And I don't know, because everybody knows Spain because of paella. I'm gonna send you a picture because I couldn't bring it here. I don't know if you have heard about tortilla de patata in Spain. Yeah, of course. Yeah, famous. Okay, but I like tortilla de patata, but I prefer this one that maybe you haven't heard. That is croquetas. Croquetas? Have you heard about croquetas? No? No? That's tortilla de patata. Thank you, Olga.
Wow.
And I mean, it's a potato, sometimes onion. There's a debate here in Spain, people who likes tortilla with onion or without onion. My mom always cook it with onion, so I'm about that. And croquetas, I have sent you the picture of croquetas.
Okay.
And it's like, I don't know, some kind of mass done with different stuff. I don't really know what, because we have some of them made of cheese, some of them made of cocido, which is a typical food here in Spain. Sometimes they are made of ham or whatever you want to put. So it depends. I really like the ones of ham. And I don't know, I usually have this at 12 in the morning before starting working. I have one of these with my friends here in the YMCA, because next to our YMCA there are a lot of bars, and we usually have our coffee there before starting our day at work. And that's it.
Thank you, Alba. Thank you. I didn't get the second picture though. I'm not sure if it was just me. If you put it in the chat.
No? Yeah, sorry. I thought I have sent it.
Yeah.
Olga, I'm sending all of them to you only. So
yeah. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. I'm seeing it now. Brilliant. Your first image almost looked like a potato omelette, but that's just the first thing that came to mind when you showed us that picture. But yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Alba. I've noticed, Agnes, you have just joined from Italy, and it looks very sunny and bright at the moment.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is sunny.
Wow.
Yeah, after a week of just rain and a lot of rain, now it's sunny. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I'm envious. We are just going round, and just if we're doing the food part, that you probably saw in the email, just presenting national foods and stuff. So, have you managed to get something? Do you have any food with you?
I just came back home, so I have nothing to eat. I didn't plan anything, but I can tell you what we usually eat.
Yeah, go for it.
Like in Okay, so it's for a break during the morning, not lunch, right?
Mhm.
Like what we okay.
Mhm.
So okay, as probably everyone knows, we eat a lot of pizza, like in the during the day, like slices of pizza or crocchette, similar to the one that Alba just showed, that in Italian are called crocchette. That it's similar to the Spanish, I think. Okay, or yeah, those kind of things, or like salty croissant, or also sweet ones, and yeah, those kind of things, or like little sandwiches and things like that. We're a stereotype. Like we eat a lot of pizza and pasta. It's not nothing original.
Very stereotypical Italian.
Yeah.
Extra question for you as well. Then, what is your favorite type of pizza?
Margherita, which is the classical one, the traditional one with tomato sauce and mozzarella.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. Yeah.
Easy peasy. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Agnes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, if you eat at 12:25 in Italy, they take away your passport, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay. I do like the Leadership Academy because it does bring, yes, we're learning a lot, but also so many people from so many different cultures and places. And when we're able to travel, we can go and try out all these amazing foods with friends. So it's great. Okay. Looking at the time, Olga, shall we move on to the next thing, or what's next?
Yeah. So just we will finish with a short guessing game. Thank you so much, Matthew, for leading that part. And I don't know how you feel, but it made me feel hungry a little bit. Yeah. So I suggest that we make a short guessing game about your countries. So I'm sharing the German board. It has 20 empty pages. Just your task will be to pick up one, any, to book it, and to put very quickly from 3-5 facts about your countries. But they should not be super obvious or super stereotypical. For example, if you put the flag, we will guess it immediately. If you put the name, we will guess it immediately. So try to put something not really obvious. And so 5-7 minutes, and then we will just look through these slides and try to guess what country you are describing. Okay, is the task clear?
How many things should we write? Sorry.
3, 5. Yeah, you can put pictures as well. You can just type. You can put stickers, whatever.
So we should not put our names, right?
No names. And if you see that someone
Okay.
is working on this slide already, choose a different one.
Okay, thank you.
You can put a sticker booked, for example. And it's fine if you are putting your marks and communicating. How is it going? Do you need more time already? Okay, 1 more minute. All right, let's finish. And I suggest you to put the microphones. So I will just go slide by slide. We will look at it, trying to guess altogether what a person has described. And try to understand what country it might be. So do not hesitate to put your mics on now. So we have communication. All right. So organ donors, some meal and some dances. Okay, what are your idea? What it tells about? Who is the main organ donor in Europe? I have no idea.
I don't know.
Okay, guys, any guesses? What do you see here?
Is this Spain? Am I seeing something rarer? But I think that food, I saw it before.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, you're the biggest organ donors in Europe.
Yeah, it's one of the countries that don't more organs in Europe.
Wow.
So when you think about Spain, you think about siesta, party, and all that kind of stuff. But we also, I mean, I have put some of that, but also I think that sometimes we forget these kind of things, and I think it's really interesting. I was looking for more things, but I couldn't, like, it was so obvious. Like Ibiza, paella, football. And for me, that's so obvious. So I was trying to
Costumes, which area are the costumes at the bottom?
from my area. I live in Zaragoza, which is in Aragon. I don't know if you know about it. So it's in between Madrid and Barcelona, the part of there, kind of. And that's the typical costume of our region. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Amazing. And is it a kind of traditional food as well? Yeah.
Yeah. I told you about the cocido croqueta before. So that's cocido. It's like, I don't know.
Ooh.
It has a lot of things. It's not very healthy because it has a lot of fat, but everybody
There's
loves it.
chickpeas. It qualifies
Yeah.
as healthy.
Yeah. I don't really like it, but it's typical. So
But putting that in a croqueta is a good idea. Looks amazing.
yeah. And the other thing is like decoration that they put in the streets in our festivities, because in the small villages, we have like the representative of the town each year, which is usually people who are turning 18, usually the girls, and we call them queens or something like that of the town. And the streets are decorated like this. So I found it typical from here.
Thanks a lot, Alba. This is so interesting. Hey, Lenia, you guessed it so quickly.
Yeah, the
Good
food,
job.
I definitely had it. I don't know where, but I had the food.
Probably in Madrid, because it's really typical. I mean, if you have been in Madrid.
Maybe I've been in Madrid, in Toledo as well, but
Yeah.
Toledo is on the other is Castilla-La Mancha, but I don't know. Maybe it flies over there as a food as well.
Cool. Okay, let's go further. Ooh, Angry Bird, coffee. I have no idea who this man is. Shame on me. Hey, please help me. What do you see here? Any guesses?
Could it be Finland?
Why do you think so?
I'm actually really wondering. I think the bear made me think of those very Nordic countries. I've lived 1 year in Sweden, so maybe the flag as well. I know it's not the Swedish flag. It looks a bit like it's not the Finnish flag, and it's neither the Swedish one, but I don't know. It reminded me of those flags, so that's why.
And I think Angry Birds was made in Finland as well. So, yeah.
Yes, you're correct. It's Finland. I didn't have much time to write anything down, so I went with just pictures. But what we have there is the bear, which is the national animal of Finland. Then we have in the center the picture of the gentleman. That's probably the most famous Finnish person, which is Jean Sibelius, the composer. Then we have Angry Birds, which is a very popular mobile game and made in Finland. Then we have the coffee, which is because Finnish people use the most coffee or drink the most coffee in the world, around 10 kilograms coffee per person in a year, and almost 91% of the Finnish population drink coffee. And then the flag is the flag of Åland, which is the autonomous territory of Finland, kind of an island that's closer to Sweden, completely Swedish speaking, but belongs to Finland, or is an autonomous territory, as Finland is also a bilingual country. We speak Finnish and Swedish here. So sorry if it was too difficult, but I mean, you guessed it, so well done.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, and people guessed it easily. Wow.
Are you guys still alive with that amount of coffee you drink? I will probably die on the streets.
No, but it's just a very kind of integral part of just Finnish culture. You have like your afternoon coffee, everyone like does it, and you have to remember that it's super dark here for like half of the year. Now it's summer, so it doesn't get dark, so it's always light, but in the winter time it's the complete opposite, so you have to like stay awake.
Need caffeine
So,
to kick you in the face.
yes. Yes.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I read that Finland and Sweden also, they are leaders of coffee drinking in Europe. Okay, let's go here. Nutella stuff. 50 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. In these countries, there are the only 3 active volcanoes in Europe. Pasta.
That might be
140
Italy.
different types. Hmm?
That might be Italy.
Looks like
That may
I
be.
could tell the same.
Yeah, it is. Do I have to explain?
I didn't know that Nutella is an Italian stuff, is it?
Yeah, because the creator of Nutella is an Italian, was an Italian gentleman, Ferrero, that died like some months ago, not long ago. So yeah, Nutella is an Italian creation and invention. And yeah, then we have 50 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, 140 different types of pasta. And yeah, there are the only 3 active volcanoes in Europe.
Wow. So that
also-
was quick.
You can all qualify as addicts because above the age of 1, any Italian is addicted to Nutella. Literally. I think we'd sell our
Yeah.
family for Nutella. Easy.
Yeah,
Wow.
probably, yeah. So Nutella and pasta.
If I ask my child, do you love mama more or Nutella? The answer is Nutella. There's no doubt. I'm not even mad.
Amazing. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for this. Okay, let's move. That was quick. So here we see lake,
Really my favorite.
tractor, plane. Any ideas?
Would it be Ireland? I'm not just
Why
saying because
why
of
do you
the
think so?
maybe the border, separating North and Northern Ireland and Ireland. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Is it?
No.
Maybe it's Belarus.
Why do you think so?
I don't know. Tractor makes me think about it, and the river.
Somebody has to farm those potatoes.
Yes, Natalia, you are right. This is Belarusian.
And the plane reminds me of the current situation.
Hijacking the plane. Yeah, Ryanair story, of course. Yeah, so definitely like Belarus definitely like has plenty of lakes, and this is very beautiful by its nature. Belarus has been producing tractors for many, many years, and it exports tractors to many countries. So like if you see a tractor called Belarus, don't be surprised. So the people in the country are really kind, open-minded, helpful, but then this is a funny thing. If you come to Belarus, you will not see many smiling people like in the streets, passes by. Eleni is smiling, probably she remembers it. So in the streets, people usually look very serious. Yeah, but this is just a part of culture. But if you ask them, they will be very open and helping and smiling. Yeah, and actually at this moment, when the Ryanair plane was hijacked, now the air above Belarus is almost completely closed. And I realized that I cannot come back to my country now. So this is the situation. So this is the reason why I put this, because this is a very hot topic for me now. And of course, I could put much more. Yeah. Thank you, Natalia, for guessing it. Let's go further. Ooh. This is difficult for me. I do not know the name of this animal in English, so of course I do not know.
Is it Scotland? Perhaps.
Why? Why do you think so?
Because that's James McAvoy and he's a Scottish actor. That's why I know it.
Good for you. I didn't know him. Shame on me.
Yep. And two
Is
years,
it, Matthew?
a little crush on James McAvoy.
Amen.
Yes, it is Scotland. I thought I'd make it quite a challenge, but maybe James McAvoy is too easy, actually. But yeah, it's Scotland, and the picture of the little animal isn't real. It's just a joke that many Scottish people play on foreigners.
I was about to ask, what is that thing?
Yeah, it's meant to be a haggis. And when we say, Scottish people say, haggis are little animals that run around and you chase them, but that's the picture that somebody made on Photoshop. That's just been used so many times now. But yeah, the horses is a sculpture, and they're called the what are they called actually? The helix, the kelpies at the helix, I should say. And looking at one of the Scottish tourism websites, they say that they are the largest pair of equine sculptures in the world, and they could be found just in between Stirling and Falkirk, which is only about maybe a half an hour drive from where I am. So they're quite cool. Yep, ken is a filler word that we use in place of no. So when you hear a Scottish person saying I ken, they mean I know. Or do you ken that? I know that. And or do you ken that? Do you know that? I ken that. I know that. And then this is Gaelic that I literally just Google translated. I don't know how to speak Gaelic, but it's translated to "this is our language." So I'm assuming it is Ecor Canaan. You can tell I don't have a Scottish accent. I don't think so. I'm probably butchering that, but that is Gaelic translated to "this is our language." Yeah, there you go.
This is great. Thank you so much. So you should be really accurate with the can and can, so to understand Scottish people.
Yeah. My husband is Irish and he doesn't speak Irish very well, as most Irish people don't, even though they studied for 12 years. But he always says that when he hears other types of Gaelic, the one that sounds that he can pick up the most is probably Scottish, where he can like identify more words, let's say. And funnily enough, when the elves spoke in The Lord of the Rings, I could understand because 80% of that was either Irish or Scottish Gaelic. So
okay, so your husband can speak with elves. Good to know. Okay, so we have one more. Two capitals of Ishan culture. Native Americans are descendants of one of the peoples of this country. As the deepest underground in the world, the largest freshwater lake is here. I know. Do you know? The largest freshwater lake is here. This is. You should guess it quickly. I see that Elenia knows.
Weirdly, I got it from the lake too, but not because I actually know it, but it's a guessing game. If it's the largest, we have one enormously large country in here, I'd say, compared to anybody else. Come on, guys, you can guess it.
it Russia?
Yes, is it Natalia?
Yes,
Quite big.
yes, that's right. So the largest freshwater lake is Baikal, which is in the center of Russia geographically. So Russia has two capitals, one official and one cultural. So Moscow and St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg is the cultural capital. Native Americans are descendants of the Eskimo peoples, and yes, Russia has the deepest underground in the world.
I didn't know about that. It has the deepest underground in the world. Is it about particular metro stations?
I don't remember where exactly. It's either St. Petersburg or Moscow. But some stations are really very deep. So it
This is true.
takes quite a lot to go down.
Yeah, I need to Google.
I had no idea about Native Americans. That threw me off because I never put it together, but it makes sense in fairness, as the two countries like the Americas and Russia kind of end up very close at the top.
Yes, because Alaska used to be part of Russia.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Yeah. That's mad.
This is cool. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's go further. The language used is the only Semitic language that uses the Latin alphabet. On average, the country has 90 rainy days per year. Tiny, some clearly liquid, and some beautiful square with some festive things. Ian, do you want to comment on it?
I have no idea.
Are you sure?
No? Well, should I know?
I think so. I think you should know. Yeah.
No. More clues.
Okay, help.
I think maybe because I was confused. I think it's because some of us are living in a country that is not their origin one. Maybe that's where people are confused.
So 90 rainy days. Is it a lot or not? So if probably it's not March. So
is it Malta?
Can it be the Malta then? Yeah.
Yes, it is. Sorry if I misunderstood.
No. This
no,
is
you did right.
You
did right. You just
right.
added a level of difficulty.
Yeah, could you please comment a little bit about the Semitic language, especially?
Basically, the Maltese language, it comes from Arabic. It sounds very Arabic, and Arabic languages, they're called Semitic languages. You know, they don't have the same alphabets as us. They use those, I don't know how to call, but yeah. Those different things. And Maltese is the only Semitic language that has the same letters as we do.
Now I understand.
So complex as well as a language.
It is, but there is a lot of Italian as well. They had a lot of Italian influence, so Italian people understand quite a few words actually.
Could you comment, please, on 2 pictures?
Sorry. Yes. So kini, it's a soft drink. It's typical Maltese. It was made here. I really don't like it, to be honest with you. I really don't. It's sort of similar to Coca-Cola, but less strong and with a bit of like kind of orange-ish taste. I don't like it. It's sparkling as well. And the second photo, it's something that's really cultural here. So outside of COVID, obviously, every summer, so Malta has, he's still very religious with Catholic, and every summer they have those big festas in all the cities in Malta. In Malta, it goes on for like 3 months. It's everywhere. There are fireworks every day. People, like thousands of people in the streets, and it's really crazy, and it's really important to Maltese people. So each festa celebrates a saint from their religion. Yeah, and it hasn't been happening for the past, like last year it didn't happen. This year it won't happen either, and Maltese people are really angry about that.
Cool.
Also, because they're nearly all completely vaccinated. Am I right?
Yes, and they still want us to keep the masks and everything. So.
Cool, thank you so much. I Googled about the metro. So Moscow has the longest single escalator in metro, but the deepest metro is in North Korea. So these are different things. Okay. I think it's easy. And it is
Greece.
Yeah. Nikas.
Yeah, I also, I mean, you know, the Acropolis and Socrates are pretty obvious, but I just threw also a picture of the sun, an actual picture. I mean, yeah, just for fun. I mean, yeah, it's always sunny, basically.
Cool, thank you. Okay.
Wait, who's the guy? Who's the guy in the picture? The statue?
Yeah, it's Socrates. Is
that Socrates?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's the ancient philosopher. Yeah.
I thought he was cuter.
It's,
maybe he
very
was
ugly. So, I mean, this is not a picture of an ugly man, in my opinion. But yeah, maybe it's somebody else. I don't know. The scripts though say that he was extremely ugly. I don't know.
Oh no.
I mean, yeah, he was.
What did he care? With that brain, he didn't have to care.
Yeah.
He's not so ugly here. Come on.
Yeah. He's not, but that's what they say.
This is cool to discuss the ugliness of Socrates. Thanks a lot. So haven't we missed anyone? So let me check. Just empty. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, thank you so much. That was really great. That was so much fun. And okay, so we are closing this session today. If you want to say anything to each other, the floor is yours. While thinking about it, you can vote and tell how you enjoyed the policies paper sessions and the informal talks today, and how you are doing with your project. Yeah.
I cannot
Alright.
vote for some reason. I see the results of the vote.
Because you are the co-host and I will
Oh,
draw
I
you
see.
now.
Thank you.
Now? Can you do it now?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for telling. And this is strange that co-host cannot vote on Zoom. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Any wishes to each other? Then please keep posting pictures, links, articles about your projects in our Facebook group. YMCA Europe will also make posts and show to wider community what great things you are doing. We are doing it also because unfortunately, like we cannot have enough time to present everything that you are doing about your mini projects. We are going to have our last meeting, on the 22nd of June, in the evening. Please put it to your schedules, and so we will, yes, it will be kind of farewell the meeting actually. So please post some results of your project and also send us the reports. And this is very important that you complete all the reports by the end of the June as latest. And good luck. If you have any questions to us, you can always reach us and ask. Thanks a lot. Have a great weekend and bye-bye. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Ольга, можно вопрос к вам? So, unfortunately, I'm leaving